With Eric Ruby abandoning me for today's show, I only have one thing to say. Quit fiending, Jit. Happy Friday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show presented by Branded Bills. Make sure you head to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. I'm Anthony Totri, abandoned as always by the one, the only Eric Ruby. Not here with me today. Who knows where Jose Perez is off to these days, but of course the deli man is behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. Got Emily, John, Parker in the chat. Love to see everybody here on a Friday. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, with a solo show today, accompanied by the Deli Man. Throw any comments, questions, concerns you may have in the chat. We'll see if we got time for them as the program moves along. But just because Rubus isn't here doesn't mean we don't have a jam-packed Friday show for everybody. We've got our positional breakdowns. We got Heat Index. We got our ASU versus Baylor predictions. We're going to go through the rest of the Big 12 slate, and a little bit later on in today's show, we have CBS Sports' very own Shehan Jeyarajah joining the show to talk a little bit about this ASU Baylor matchup and then getting into what we've seen in the Big 12 through the first several weeks of the season. Grab a snack, grab a drink, maybe some chilaquiles and a Bloody Mary, and buckle up because we got a good one today. And we're going to have a good one tomorrow when Arizona State takes on Sawyer Robertson and the Baylor Bears. Of course, this is a matchup that most anticipate will have some sort of implications on the Big 12 title game as the season moves along. At the very least, it should have some implications in terms of tiebreakers as the season eventually comes to an end. Arizona State does indeed have somewhat of a gauntlet, including this Baylor game. They've got TCU before a bye week. Then they've got Utah. Then they've got Tech. So a really tough 4-game stretch for Kenny Dillingham's Sun Devils, but it starts tomorrow on the road in Waco, again, taking on Dave Aranda's Baylor Bears. So how do these two teams match up against each other? Well, that leads us to our position matchups for this week between Arizona State and Baylor. You'll see some things right off the rip that stand out. Starting here, we gave the edge at quarterback to the Baylor Bears with Sawyer Robertson. I just want to get this perfectly clear here. I think Sam Leavitt is the more talented quarterback than Sawyer Robertson at Baylor. With that said, from what we've seen through the first several weeks of the season, there is no denying that Sawyer Robertson in this Baylor Bears passing attack is on fire. One of, if not the best in the conference, one of, if not the best in the country. That is the reason why the edge goes to Sawyer Robertson and Baylor. But when it comes to skill positions on offense, we're talking running backs and pass catchers. It's tough to not give the edge to Arizona State. Raleek Brown coming off back-to-back games, going over the century mark. Expect to see a little bit more of Kanye Udo this week as well. Not to mention, Kyson Brown appears ready to play for the Sun Devils. Again, I'm giving ASU the edge at running back simply because they have a plethora of weapons in the backfield to just Bryson Washington for the Baylor Bears. I know he is the leading rusher as it stands right now in the conference, but it's tough. I'm taking the 3 versus 1 here when we're talking running backs. And then when it comes to the pass catchers, I know we haven't seen a ton from Arizona State wide receivers not named Jordan Tyson, but at the end of the day, anytime Jordan Tyson is suiting up in a Big 12 matchup, the edge is going to go to ASU. There is not a receiver in this conference that can do what Jordan Tyson does any given Saturday. And you just always got to give the edge to Dilly's Devils when we're talking about those pass catchers. Expect maybe a big game from Shehan Mateer as well. The next edge that is going to be going to the Baylor Bears, that is on the offensive line. This was a tough one for me. Going back and forth, there was a moment where I kind of had it even, but at the end of the day, outside of that first game against Auburn, this Baylor offensive line has been pretty solid for the most part. And I know Arizona State's offensive line has been great when it comes to run blocking, but I think the fan base, I think the team, and I think everybody here would like to see a little bit more out of that pass protection from Josh Atkins, Max Ahanichor, Ben Coleman and company up front. Again, I think Arizona State has a very talented offensive line, but at the end of the day, I am going to have to give the edge to the Baylor Bears. Kicking it over to the defensive side of the ball for our position rankings. When it comes to run defense, I'm giving it to Arizona State. One of the best run defenses, if not the best run defense in this conference. It seems like we see that week in, week out. It appears that this is going to be part of the identity with Arizona State. As long as Kenny Dillingham is here, they're going to want to run the ball on offense, and they're going to want to be able to stop you from running the ball on defense. They've done a really good job of it, and we know that Baylor Bears front seven is a little suspect when it comes to stopping opposing running backs and athletic quarterbacks. Sam Leavitt could be in for a big day on the ground as well. Now, when it comes to the pass rush between these two teams, I am giving the edge to Arizona State. Clayton Smith and company have been really, really locked in over the first several weeks of the season. I believe a top 5 unit in the country when it comes to sacks. Am I somewhere in the right ballpark there, Shane? I want to say they're a top 5 unit, tied with a bunch of other schools right now.
They were last week. Let me double check.
Had like 10 sacks, I want to say, or 6 sacks, something along those lines through the first several weeks of the season. Will saying, is Baylor's pass rush that bad? Look, I think there are a lot of folks that still feel a type of way about ASU's pass rush. Again, they feasted. They feasted against Texas State. I know it wasn't the prettiest game in the world against like NAU or Mississippi State, but they had their moments. Well, they are a top 5 unit, I want to say, when it comes to sacks in the country right now. Is that correct, Shane?
Yeah, so the most sacks in the country actually is USC.
Wow.
And Rice tied at 14. And then there are 3 teams tied for second at 12, and ASU is third with Auburn and Hawaii.
There you go. Arizona State's pass rush has been getting it done, especially last week against Texas State. We'll see if they can turn it up a notch, something they'll have to do on the road against Sawyer Robertson and that high-flying Baylor offense. To the secondary, I think Arizona State, again, similar to what I said about Sam Leavitt at quarterback, despite giving the edge to Baylor there, I think ASU has a more talented secondary. Keith Abney, Javen Robinson, Ghost Rouser, Boogie Wilson, because of course you're not going to see Xavier Alford this week in Waco. I think they are the more talented group by far. With that said, given what we've seen to this point in the season, you can't not give the edge to Baylor here, especially when you look at overall statistics here. Arizona State has given up the most pass yards of any team in the Big 12. Regardless of talent, it's tough to give the edge to ASU when that is a factor in this matchup. So I am going to go ahead and give the edge to the Baylor Bears when it comes to the secondary here. Just know that the talent is certainly there for ASU on the back end of that defense. When it comes to special teams, I'm giving the edge to ASU. We'll see if Canyon Floyd gives it a go this week. I know he didn't play last week, or at least much of last week. So expect, hopefully, him to be back. That is going to make somewhat of an impact in terms of flipping the field, especially against a team in Baylor that does move up and down the field pretty quickly, given what they have at quarterback and at running back in Bryson Washington. Goes without saying, Jesus Gomez is an absolute weapon with a cannon of a leg. He is the best kicker in this game, bar none here. And then when it comes to the coaching, I mean, come on. It's Kenny Dillingham. I'm giving the edge to Kenny, to Marcus Arroyo, Brian Ward. They're going to have their hands full in this Big 12 opener against Sawyer Robertson and Dave Aranda. But at the end of the day, I do like Kenny Dillingham and this coaching staff over Baylor. Shane in chat How do we feel about those position rankings, positional matchups here? Do we feel like I was incorrect on any of these? Would you maybe give the edge to either Baylor or ASU at another position?
No, I mean, maybe pass catchers, just because ASU literally has shown that they don't have anything other than Shehan and Jordan Tyson so far. And then, no, I don't think anything else. There's an argument to be made that the quarterback can be even, but we have not this year.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're on the same page that Sam has the talent, right? Sam is, I think, again, in my mind, Sam is the better overall quarterback. But at the end of the day, I can't not give it to Sawyer, considering he's already thrown for over a K this year. Otto Raider says you certainly don't have better RBs or wide receivers. I'd love to get your explanation, Otto Raider, on why you think that is, because as it stands at wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, nobody has been better against man coverage in college football this season than Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson is the best receiver in this conference. You can't even make an argument for it. I get that Baylor is a little bit more consistently spread out in terms of production, but I am taking the cream of the crop when it comes to the pass catchers. And again, I don't see a world where we're going to have any team in the conference get the edge at pass catcher when Jordan Tyson is healthy and out there for Arizona State. And as it relates to the running backs, my explanation for that is I understand Bryson Washington leads the conference in rush yards as it stands right now. Tweeted out earlier in the week. Second is Raleek Brown, and Raleek Brown has 31 fewer carries than Bryson Washington has to this point in the season. Not to mention, another ASU running back has gone over the century mark this season. That's Kanye Udo. Plus, you're getting Kyson Brown back, knock on wood, this week. So the running back room for Arizona State is far more plentiful in terms of production and talent than what you see at Baylor as it stands going into this matchup. So again, I would love your explanation for it. If I'm missing something, maybe there's a hidden gem somewhere in that Baylor running back room, but I just don't see it. I'm with Bees on this one. Udo and Raleek are thunder and lightning for ASU. What does that make Kyson Brown?
Rain.
There's thunder, lightning, and rain. Huh?
Yeah.
Is the rain good? I don't know if I want my running back to be referred to as rain.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
I mean, maybe hail. No, because he's from SIP. And he's from Mississippi, so.
Oh, Hail
They do
State.
Hail State,
Yeah,
maybe.
No,
we don't like that one.
I don't mind Hail though, because he does pack a punch.
He does. Yeah, absolutely. He packs a punch. Excited to see him back for ASU. B says Kyson is the Hurricane.
Hurricane Sip.
Hurricane Sip goes crazy. Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, hide your kids, hide your wives. Kyson Brown, the Hurricane, is back in action in Waco. You got a hurricane in Waco this weekend. Guys, again, let me know what you think of those position rankings, the breakdown there. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why or why not? Look, we are just getting started here on the PHNX Sun Devils show. A lot more to get into. We're going to get to Heat Index and our predictions for this matchup on the other side of our first break. Look, I'm going to do my best Ruby impression here now that he's gone. Zenleaf, they're giving you 50% off wheat, right? That's the ad read. That's what Rubus does here. Look, whether you're gearing up for game day, winding down after a hike up Camelback, or just trying to recover from what's probably going to be a long and exciting weekend of football, make sure you do it with Zenleaf Dispensary. Zenleaf is your go-to spot for cannabis. Now, they have a bunch of different options for you. We're talking flower, vapes, edibles, and so much more, all from the brands that you trust, with locations all across the valley. One of my personal favorite things about Zenleaf is that it doesn't really matter where you live here in Arizona. They got a spot for you. Chandler, Gilbert, North Phoenix, and more. Super easy to swing by before Arizona State kicks off tomorrow at 4:30. Or, of course, if you don't want to leave your home, you can order online and then go get express pickup post-workout, post-game, whatever you are feeling. And don't forget, for a limited time only, using promo code ZenPHNX gets you 50% off a one-time purchase. Zenleaf, great weed, great service every time. Now, of course, Arizona State on the road this weekend, but back at home on Friday of next week, taking on Josh Hoover and the TCU Horned Frog. Should be an absolutely electric environment at Mountain America Stadium. You need to be there. So where are you going to get your tickets? Well, look no further than Game Time. I know Shane and I, Eric, we've all used Game Time, and it really has enhanced the sports ticketing experience, if you will, because for me, I'm a procrastinator. I like to wait to the last minute to do things. And when it comes to buying tickets, sometimes that means you're going to get bad deals. You're going to get bad seats. That's not the case when it comes to Game Time. It almost feels like the deals get better the longer you wait, which I don't even know how that works. But Game Time, they manage to do it. Plus, when you go on the app, guys, you can actually get a firsthand look as to where the seat actually is, like a little view. It's awesome when you're using Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Tap Ticket Go. Download the Game Time app today. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you'll notice if you're in the chat, some of you, Bees, Sharon, have like a little like sticker next to your name. And you guys get to use special emojis that everybody in the chat doesn't. Everybody else in the chat, I should say, doesn't.
And what are they called?
To use the little emojis?
No, what are the people that don't get to use this?
Oh, they're losers?
They're losers.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not calling you a loser. That's just the title.
It's just
you
the
have.
title.
Because the title you get as a member of the YouTube channel is you're a supporter. You're an MVP, you know?
Come be an MVP.
If you're not an MVP and you're not a supporter, you're a loser. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, Shane's words, not mine. You'll see the comment from PHNX Sports right there. Join the supporters club. Click that little link. Become an MVP. Join the fun that we have here every single day in this YouTube chat. Again, access to those special PHNX emojis. The more supporters we get, the more emojis we get. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we're now second in the network when it comes to the supporters club.
The little engine that could.
Keep chugging along, okay? Keep chugging along.
Chew.
There you go.
MFers.
That's the PHNX train. That's the noise it makes. Look, I want to get into Heat Index because, of course, we got a lot still to get to today. Heat Index, for those of you that are new here, every week we give a couple Arizona State Sun Devils that need to go out and have a big game, maybe a big performance for the Sun Devils to get the job done. This week, probably the most important to date here in 2025, considering Arizona State is opening Big 12 play on the road in a tough environment going against one of the best passing attacks in the nation. So who needs to step up? Who needs to have a big game for Arizona State? Take a look at this week's Heat Index. Starting for the second week in a row, we're going Sam Leavitt needing to have a big game for Arizona State. We got 2 fire emojis, so it's not as imperative as the other 2 players that we're going to get into. But when it comes to Sam Leavitt specifically in this game, the reason I don't have him at 3 emojis is because I think Sam can win this game. Arizona State can win this game as long as Sam just simply does his job. He doesn't need to be the hero in this game. There's so many other elements for the Sun Devils that I think can help lead to an Arizona State victory. But when it comes to Sam Leavitt in this one, again, furthering the idea that this offense needs to get into a rhythm sooner rather than later, especially when you are on the road. Sam Leavitt hasn't necessarily been the best road quarterback to this point in his young college career. He's had those experiences at Texas Tech. We know what happened for the Sun Devils last year when they opened Big 12 play on the road. You need to see a different version of Sam Leavitt. You need to see the dual threat Sam Leavitt here. We talked earlier in the show about how suspect that Baylor's defense has been, specifically against opposing quarterbacks that are athletic. Sam Leavitt, by far the most athletic quarterback that Baylor has seen to date.
Woo!
We got to remember, David Buck is now an MVP.
Let's go.
We love that.
You know what that means? We
Stickers.
get a Sparky.
We get a Sparky one now?
Sparky.
Hell yeah.
It's on the way. It's being made. We should have it hopefully by tomorrow.
That would be awesome. Awesome. Everybody give David, Sharon Sparky incoming. Can't wait, man. That is absolutely awesome. Getting back to Sam Leavitt in the Heat Index, somebody that I think can very easily go for over 100 on the ground tomorrow against Baylor. I think it is certainly possible that he goes for over 250 through the air as well. That's not him having a masterclass game. That's not him going out there and single-handedly winning this ball game with like 400 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns. I don't think that's necessary. I think Sam Leavitt just needs to be Sam Leavitt against Baylor. It sounds easy. It sounds simple. Just take care of business. Make the easy throws. Trust your reads. Trust JT. Trust your guys out there. And when it's time to take off, don't be afraid to take off because you are better than this Baylor defense. That's why I think Sam Leavitt needs to go out there. Again, doesn't need to have a masterclass performance. Not to say that he can't or won't do it. But I do think Sam Leavitt, if he turns in his best game of the season or a similar performance to what he did against Texas State, coupled with what he did on the ground against NAU, then I think it is certainly possible for the Sun Devils to go out there and have a big win, again, on the road against a red-hot team like the Baylor Bears. The next member of our Heat Index is the man responsible for protecting Sam Leavitt's blind side. That is Josh Atkins, the starting left tackle for your Arizona State Sun Devils. Again, we talked earlier about the pass protection for Sam Leavitt in this ASU offense. It's been kind of iffy at times here to start the 2025 season. I think specifically you look back last week against Texas State. Didn't necessarily mean that Sam Leavitt's going down a ton, but certainly Sam Leavitt almost feels like he's being rushed through his progressions. He's being forced out of the pocket more than you would like to see from a veteran offensive line. That's why I think Josh Atkins needs to go out there and solidify himself as a key cornerstone on this ASU offense. Again, somebody that started at this position last year for Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. Again, you need to come out and make a statement, especially against a Baylor defense that, like we've talked a couple times, not just today, but throughout the week, it's kind of just a mid-group, if I'm being completely frank with you. I think Josh Atkins needs to take care of business up front for ASU, especially protecting Sam Leavitt. And, again, establishing a ground game for Marcus Arroyo's offense. The final member of the Heat Index that we got this week is on the back end of that ASU defense. That is Ghost. Miles Ghost Rouser, starting at safety for Arizona State. He's missing his partner in crime this week, Xavier Alford, out with an injury. Kenny Dillingham says that Alford will miss a few weeks. So all eyes turn to Rouser at the safety spot. Of course, you should have Boogie Wilson most likely starting in Alford's place, who put together a solid performance against Texas State. But on the back end of this defense, Ghost is going to be tested by Sawyer and this Baylor passing attack. Not to mention, we know what Miles brings to this defense when it comes to run defense. You need to see Miles Rouser maybe play his best game to date for Arizona State, especially in coverage, given what ASU is going to be missing with the loss of Xavier Alford this week. Anybody not on the Heat Index there that you guys want to see have a big performance, you think needs to have a big performance for ASU to come away with a win on the road in Waco? What do you think, Shane?
There are just a bunch of individual units that I want to highlight. Like the entire secondary, maybe Kendrick. Like, it's hopefully you can see some more production with a lot more time he's gonna have to play. Is Montana playing?
Still questionable.
Do you get a sense that he's gonna play?
When Dilly spoke earlier in the week, he said Montana was questionable at best.
Okay,
so that makes me feel like it's probably leaning toward not playing.
Okay, then I would say Breedlove, because you're going to need him to step up in a big way.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. Wow, that is, you are thin at that nickel and safety spot this week. Big time.
Especially since Montana plays both.
Yeah. I would say him and Boogie are probably two of my biggest. Like, Boogie had a great game against Texas State. He was everywhere. If he can have another big game this week, I mean, that's going to help this defense an unbelievable amount.
Not just this week, but honestly, in terms of like confidence and faith that it gives you as the fan. going through the rest of the season, or however long Xavier Alford's going to be out. To see a rotational piece like Boogie have a big game would be certainly huge, considering, again, he's got a lot of, I believe, a couple years left of eligibility as well. So that would be nice. I see Ben Coleman in the chat from Parker Allen saying communication on the O-line needs to be on point. I would agree. I think overall the offensive line, I specifically chose Josh Atkins because he is the left tackle for ASU, and we've had Coleman on as a member of the Heat Index already this season. But I agree. I think the offensive line, you could honestly put every single one of them on Heat Index this week. They need to have a big game because, again, we know that this Baylor defense isn't great. So I would 100% put them up there. Space Lonnie in the chat says, yes, Boog needs to have a big game. Bees and Lee talking about some of the wide receivers for ASU needing to go out there. I thought about it. I thought about putting Jaron Hamilton on there. I thought about putting potentially a Malik McClain on this list as well. Similar to the offensive line, I think you could put the entire wide receiver room, not named Jordan Tyson, on there. Like, somebody needs to go out there and have a big game.
Just a pass catcher. Like pass catchers in general. Noticeably not on the injury report. AJ Ia?
Was he not on the injury report?
I didn't see him. I could be completely wrong. I didn't see him.
Let me go double check here to see if AJ Ia was on the injury report. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Somebody that, of course, we talked a lot of in the offseason about his role in this team. Yeah, it doesn't appear that AJ Ia was listed on that initial injury report. Which should be a good sign if the Sun Devils are going to utilize him this week. Somebody that we've given a lot of praise to, a lot of folks have given a lot of praise to over the offseason. I don't know what his role will look like this week. Ultimately, we've seen a ton of Shehan Mateer, especially last week, turning in best game of his career. Back-to-back really, really good games against Texas State for Shehan, so we'll see if that carries over this week against Baylor. We saw a lot of Kamari Anderson in the offseason. We've seen Harpool this year. So I'm interested to see if they really do turn to AJ at a certain point, if they want to get somebody else involved in the passing game. But as it stands right now, that's going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. Not just AJ, but I think all of this offense, you do need somebody else to step up. You saw how valuable it was last week to just have somebody like a Shehan Mateer take the load off of Jordan Tyson in this passing game. It was huge. JT was still able to have a really solid game despite Shehan taking away some of those targets and catches. So if ASU can get other players involved, not named Jordan Tyson, and realistically not a running back, right, getting some of these other guys specifically in the passing game involved, I think that is only going to add fuel to the fire for this ASU offense as they move along. Bees says, was AJ hurt? Yeah, AJ was out the first game of the year. I believe leading up to the NAU game, he had a little injury that kept him out of that game. And of course, we haven't seen him we didn't see him against Mississippi State. We didn't see him against Texas State. So we will see if he gets his first collegiate snap against Baylor again in a really raucous environment against the Baylor Bears. Make sure you hit that like button. You hit the subscribe button.
Have you noticed something? We're feeling pretty light on likes.
We're feeling real light on likes right now.
Hey,
man.
chat, look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I done my part today?
Have you hit the like button?
You might have just forgotten. That's okay, but go ahead and do it now. Hit that like button.
Is that okay? Is it Jimenez or X? I'm trying to pronounce one of the names in the chat, and I want to get it right.
Yeah, I would assume Jimenez.
I would assume Jimenez. It says, getting Mateer more involved in the passing game again, he is a difference maker. Yeah, I think you saw Sam get more comfortable as Shehan got involved in the game, not necessarily having to force it downfield to JT every single play, right? That is so big, not only for Sam's comfortability and opening up the offense, but also making the defense have to play defense. Right? Not going out there and being okay, if it's a pass, we just got to guard zero, right? And if it's not going to zero, it's probably a run or Sam's taken off. Make them play everybody out there on the field, something that really Mississippi State's defense didn't have to do when ASU traveled to Starkville for that first road game of the season. So I'd love to see if they can get everybody else more involved in this passing attack going into this week's game against Baylor. Look, we did our positional rankings. We did heat index. I just want to get straight into our ASU predictions here. I want to get everybody in the chat what you guys think is going to happen tomorrow when Arizona State kicks off on the road in Waco against the Baylor Bears. Do you have the Sun Devils coming out on top and silencing the haters, right? Silencing the doubters, because I think that is ultimately what this game can do for Arizona State. I've seen so many graphics, I've seen so many tweets, I've seen discussions, I've seen podcasts where this is the top of the conference. And I see Texas Tech, I see Utah, I see Iowa State, I see Baylor. You know who I don't see in that conversation lately? I don't see Arizona State. I don't see a team that is the reigning Big 12 champions. I don't see a team that has the best wide receiver in the conference in Jordan Tyson. Arguably one of, if not the best quarterback in this conference when he is playing to his peak. An elite defense with 10 of 11 returning starters. And a coaching staff that has been kept together through a marvelous season in 2024. I don't see that Arizona State in the conversation for who is in the thick of the Big 12 race. And that's what a win this week can do for Arizona State. It can remind everybody that, yeah, maybe it was a sloppy start to the year, but guess what? The Big 12 runs through Arizona State, and that's how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. Winning this game on the road in Waco against what is considered one of the nation's best aerial attacks with a quarterback in Sawyer Robertson who just signed a deal with Nike would go a long, long way for this Arizona State football team internally and externally as well. And that's why I've got the Arizona State Sun Devils coming out on top in Waco. I think it's going to be a close one, 38-35, but the leg of Jesus Gomez gets it done when it matters most, and the Sun Devils sneak out of Waco with a big-time dub. Shane, we're on the same page here. We think the Sun Devils leave Waco with a win.
Yeah, I said this on, I think, was that Wednesday's show? I'm taking the under in this game. I think it's going to be a little more low scoring than people think. I think it's going to play almost as like a divisional matchup in the NFL where it just gets a little gross and
like Steelers-Ravens, 13-10 or something.
Not like that. Like there's going to be points scored. But the reason why I have 28 is because I was thinking about it, and I actually think that Jesus Gomez is going to stay on the sideline for everything except for the extra point and kickoff.
You're winning this game with touchdowns only.
You're scoring 4 touchdowns. Like this defense is an abject disaster right now for Baylor, and I think you can expose it not only just by big chunk plays, but more so, if it's 4th and 2 and you're on the 30-yard line, or Baylor's 30-yard line, Dilly's going for it.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to take points. I don't think you can take field goals in a game where you're playing as such a dynamic offense like Baylor has. So that's why I have ASU winning this one 28-24.
I think that's absolutely fair. Seth in the chat saying, I think this might be the Jesus Gomez game. I'm kind of with Shane on this one. I think you need touchdowns to come out of Waco with a win. Dilly and Arroyo are aggressive. I think you're going to get Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson's best this week. I do have 5 touchdowns in this game with Jesus Gomez winning it on maybe a last drive, last second field goal. Parker also in a similar position here says ASU wins 31-28. Gomez hits the go-ahead field goal. Then Breedlove seals it with a game-winning pick. Jimenez says Clayton Smith and Prince Dorba need to be felt. Yeah, I think those two off the edge. Prince Dorba was in consideration for heat index for me this week because the pass rush has been so good. I'd love to be able to see and talk about Prince Dorba maybe finishing with a double-digit sack game, or not double-digit sack game, but like multiple sacks against Baylor. I think that would be huge. Just for the pass rush as a whole. To be honest with you.
I think the biggest thing on defense for this game is you have to get home with 4.
Yeah.
Because of how bad Sawyer is against zone coverage. The statistics. Shout out the PFF guys again. When they pulled these statistics, like he is one of the worst quarterbacks in the country when it comes to dealing with zone coverage. And I think that's partly due to impatience. But if you can get home and you're forcing Sawyer to make a decision fast,
disrupt that timing,
and this is when the soft shell coverage is going to work well and work in your favor. You're going to sit back and in a too high look and just play everything underneath and keep everything in front of you. Don't allow a long ball, and Sawyer's eventually going to get impatient. You need to have interceptions this game. I need at least one. At least one, because Sawyer will give you turnover-worthy balls. Like, that's just a fact. And if he doesn't, and they beat you by Sawyer Robertson playing an almost perfect game, but you stuck to your principles, it is what it is, and you got to move on. But I would be shocked if Sawyer Robertson doesn't give you a couple turnover-worthy balls. You just got to capitalize on
Coming
it.
off his worst game of the season so far against Samford, where I want to say he threw 2 interceptions. So he certainly is somebody, like we said earlier in the week, gives his guys on the perimeter chances. He is not afraid to throw one-on-one balls. And like Shane said, you as a secondary, Ghost, Boogie, Keith, Javen, even some of those linebackers that are going to be in coverage need to capitalize, need to create those extra offensive possessions for Sam Leavitt in those Arizona State Sun Devils. Look, that's what I think. That's what Shane thinks. I want to get your guys' thoughts again. Drop your score predictions in the chat. We're going to get CBS Sports college football writer Shehan Jeyarajah. We're going to get his thoughts and opinions on this matchup on the other side of our second break. Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we tell you all the time about our PHNX partners that try and help you save money. So with all that savings, with all that extra money that you have, well, why don't you invest it in another PHNX partner, All Pro Shade Concept? You guys can extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning. They got hundreds of designs and colors to choose from to match any home. Of course, we know it gets hella hot here in the Valley. So protect your backyard, protect yourself from the sun. Again, go check out All Pro Shade Concept. Everything that they have for you guys. Again, roll down patio shades, block the sun, keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler. We know that is massive here in the Valley of the Sun. Like I said, they've got hundreds of colors and durable fabric to withstand that Arizona heat. You guys can choose from manual or motorized, seal track or cable shades. And then, of course, in the winter, drop-down shades can create an outdoor living area that keeps cold wind out and warm air in. Turn your backyard into the go-to tailgating spot with All Pro Shade Concept. For more information, call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. Look, of course, Arizona State on the road, mentioned it a couple of times, but back at Mountain America Stadium next week to take on TCU, focusing less on the stadium, more so on Mountain America Credit Union, because, look, everybody needs a checking account, something that Jose Perez, a.k.a. Rubus, tells you every single time he's on this program. So look no further than Mountain America Credit Union when getting your checking account. My personal favorite part about Mountain America's My Style checking account is that it has perks just for you. You guys can enjoy restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and more. It doesn't just stop there. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Make sure you visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration/activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And Marcus Arroyo, do what Chad Johnson is telling you to do in the chat. Run the dang ball. I'd love to see Raleek Brown, Kyson Brown, Kanye Udoh, that three-headed monster rip off a big, big game for the Sun Devils. Heck, let Sam run it. Give me some designed QB runs here. Really, really interested to see what the game plan looks like offensively for Arizona State. It's going to be a fun one, but we've given you our thoughts and opinions all week long. What do the experts, what does the network have to say? Well, this is our conversation with CBS Sports' very own Shehan Jeyarajah. We've got the one, the only, the best dressed in the media sports world, CBS Sports' very own Shehan Jeyarajah. Shehan, we appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to hear your perspective on Arizona State because obviously they've dropped out of the top 25. I think a lot of people, especially from the outside, would consider it like a disappointing first 3 games. But this last game against Texas State, they showed a lot of flashes of who we expected them to be. What's your overarching take on the Sun Devils post Big 12 championship so far?
Well, I think that there's no question, right? That Mississippi State game was a huge disappointment, I think. Arizona State was one of the teams in the Big 12 that started out highly ranked to start the year. And, you just have to take advantage of those opportunities when you're a Big 12 team, right? Because it's so much harder to play your way back up. Now, what I will say is that I don't think that there's anything structurally flawed with this team, right? I mean, I think that anybody can see, like, Arizona State was the better team against Mississippi State and blew it in so many moments. And of course, I think probably my big concern is also like Sam Leavitt just doesn't look like himself in that game, right? So that's the piece that I want to see improvement from. But from a talent perspective, from an ability perspective, from a coaching perspective, I don't have a lot of questions about this team. They just have to do it more consistently.
You bring up Sam Leavitt. Obviously, there's been a lot of chatter here locally about the way that he's played to this point in the season, especially with such high expectations going into the 2025 season. Just a little bit more in depth, what have you seen from ASU's QB1 through the first 3 weeks of the year? And then maybe how has it changed from week one to now where we're at heading into conference play?
Well, I think that when you look at Leavitt, I mean, he was considered pretty clearly the QB1 in the Big 12 coming into the year. And I think that through the first couple of weeks, he certainly has not played like it. Obviously, the game against Mississippi State was pretty terrible. And by the way, when I predicted Arizona State to beat Mississippi State, it was kind of on the assumption that he's not going to play as poorly against Mississippi State as he did last year whenever that game was close. But, he kind of did replicate that and didn't necessarily handle that moment well. So, from my perspective, look, obviously he has a really talented receiver room. I think he is probably missing the safety valve of Cam Scadaboo, even though Arizona State has run the ball still at a high level. I think that the receiving is actually maybe what he misses a bit more, but he's also just got to be a little bit of a better decision maker in some of these moments. He has that ability to buy time and make plays, but he also, I think, has to really stay in structure a little bit more at times as well. So it's been an up and down first couple of weeks. I think that, one thing that I think gets lost in stuff like this as well is that expectations for him are off the charts right now. And it's a different kind of challenge in college football, having this level of investment, having this level of expectation, being sort of the face of the program in so many ways. And so I don't have a lot of worry that he's going to be able to figure it out. But again, when there are so many good quarterbacks in this Big 12 conference right now, when you take half a step back, it can slip you down the list quite a bit.
You mentioned expectations. It's been a massive theme for this team. Obviously, 365 days ago, they were massively surpassing everybody's preseason expectations. Now, they're not living up to at least what people build them as preseason. Have your personal expectations for this team heading into Big 12 play changed off of the first 3 weeks? Or do you think this is more of a, they're going to get it right, it's just one of those slow starts?
I think that they're going to get it right. I'm not too worried about that. I think, though, that where it gets kind of interesting is, I had them at kind of the number 2, number 3 spot in the Big 12. Maybe it gets nudged down to more like number 4 or number 5. And that was one of my concerns coming into the year, is that the reality is in the Big 12 with so many competitive teams, like the gap between number 2 and number 4 is almost nothing, right? I mean, obviously fans will remember there were 4 teams tied for first place in the Big 12 to end the year, and Arizona State and Iowa State get in primarily through tiebreakers. Now, I think they were also the top 2 teams in the conference, but it's almost a coincidence in some ways. So that's, I think, sort of the question that comes about is, can you replicate the level of success that you had in 2024 if you do get off to a slow start the way that they did last season? So I think that that's probably the one thing that I'd say, is that I expected them to look like one of the best teams in the Big 12 to start the year. To this point, I think that they've been one of many teams that are in that contention conversation.
A lot's been made of the pass catchers for Arizona State so far this season, specifically in the wide receiver room. There hasn't been a ton of production from players not named Jordan Tyson, but Tyson, it feels like, is a walking highlight waiting to happen. What have you seen from him? And then maybe her, just in terms of his draft stock as one of the best, if not best, wide receivers potentially available in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jeremiah Smith is in a class of his own, but I would put Jordan Tyson up there with basically anybody else. He was one of my preseason first-team All-Americans on my ballot, ahead of even guys like Ryan Williams. And I think that he's played like it to this point. I mean, he's just such a dynamic player. It's kind of crazy to think about in hindsight that he wasn't available for the college football playoff and Big 12 title game. They still managed to play that well. And so, I mean, from my perspective, like you said, I think he's going to be one of the first couple receivers drafted. I think that, you know what, if you asked right now, I think that he's a day 1 or day 2 pick with the ability to continue to play his way up as well. So, I mean, the thing that you love about him is, like you said, great route runner, great speed. He's a downfield threat. He has sure hands. Like, he's just kind of a starter pack for what you need in a receiver in college football right now. And I think that's going to serve him really well, even when he gets to playing on Sundays.
Obviously, Jordan Tyson has been a name that a lot of people have been talking about all offseason. One that's been a little bit more under the radar, though, has been Raleek Brown, who is back playing college football, and he is absolutely dominating, over 8 yards per carry, just some absolutely electric, massive plays. Has the Raleek Brown experience caught you off guard a little bit, or is this something that you thought, okay, that might be a diamond in the rough for ASU?
Well, I mean, this is the funny thing about it, right? It's like, it's kind of was supposed to be a diamond, right? This is a guy who was a 5-star recruit when he came to USC, and I was expecting him to be, I mean, in some ways, what Cam Scadaboo was last year for this team. Obviously dealt with injury, so didn't really get into the lineup. I'm not surprised, frankly, at all by his breakout. I think that he is a perfect fit for this team, a perfect fit for this roster, a perfect fit for this offense. And I think that they needed somebody like him to come along and step up. Now, of course, they've split carries, which I think is even a better situation for both of these running backs as they try to obviously keep them healthy. But the thing that you love about Raleek Brown is that he is truly an all-purpose back. He has the ability to catch out of the backfield. He has the ability to get outside. He's an explosive player. And I think that he's only going to continue to get better as he reintegrates himself to college football.
Obviously, a big matchup this week going into conference play. Maybe not the game of the week in the conference. I think Texas Tech and Utah probably take that cake. But another good one in Waco, ASU taking on the Baylor Bears. Just how do you see that matchup playing out? Maybe some strengths and weaknesses for the Sun Devils heading into Waco.
Yeah, this is a really, really interesting game, and one that I think might have major implications as the season goes along. I expect both these teams to be in the top 5 of the Big 12 standings and potentially in that tiebreaker for the Big 12 title game. You know, when I look at Baylor, this is a team that is as explosive offensively as any team in the country right now. I think that at this moment, Sawyer Robertson has maybe taken over that mantle of QB1 in the Big 12 with the way that he's played early. And I think that they're going to be able to put up points even against a really good Arizona State team. Now, I think that this is the game where you really need Sam Leavitt to step up because Baylor's okay against the run, but they've really struggled to this point against the pass. And I think that also, by the way, when it comes to Leavitt, they haven't been elite against the quarterback run to this point. You watch that week 1 game against Auburn, Jackson Arnold was able to break away and run all over them. So I think this is a huge opportunity for Leavitt to kind of come out of his shell, for some other pass catchers to step up, because this is a banged up Baylor secondary that hasn't been able to shut down some of the better passers in this conference or in their non-conference slate. And I think that Leavitt is clearly the best that they're going to play so far.
Defensively, you mentioned, obviously, ASU is going to need to step up big time, the best offensive unit that they faced all season. Do you have any names specifically defensively that you feel like have to have a big game on Saturday for ASU to walk out with a W?
Well, I think the safeties more than anything else. I mean, when you look at this group, I mean, we had been hearing before the season that they expected both of their safeties to potentially be NFL draft picks this year. Xavier Alford, such a big-time contributor, such an experienced player back there. And when you look at the way that Baylor's taken advantage of teams, like, it's been in that middle to deep heart of the field. And so you just need that defense to step up on the back end and take away some of those easy opportunities. I'd also look at linebacker. Like, I think that, again, Michael Trigg, the Baylor tight end, has been just incredibly physical in the middle of the field. He is, he's listed at tight end, but I mean, that dude loves to catch the football, loves to run with it. I think that Arizona State's linebackers are really going to need to be up for the challenge of dropping back into coverage and separating Michael Trigg from the football.
I do want to get into kind of just how the Big 12 has really transpired through non-con. Before we do that, though, I've got to know, how do you see that matchup going down in Waco? Does ASU get their first conference win of the season, or is it Baylor defending home turf?
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth honestly with this game. I think it's going to be an incredibly fun one. I think it probably is going to be a pretty high scoring game. And again, you've got an offense in Baylor that's playing as well as anybody in the country right now. I lean Baylor right now. I think that just the way that they've put up points is going to serve them well. And I just need to see it to this point a little bit from Sam Leavitt. But he is the X factor for this game. If he's able to open up the game, play like what we saw for so much of last season, and you still have that running game component. I mean, Arizona State needs to put up explosive plays against this Baylor defense that's been really inconsistent. But I narrowly have Baylor, but I mean, a lot of it just has to do with that they're the home team, and I think they're going to handle that moment well.
When you look at the rest of the Big 12, Baylor's been an incredible offense, but I think a lot of people expected Baylor to at least be good this year. Who's been the biggest surprise for you so far through non-con play as we enter what should be a very exciting Big 12 season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you look around right now, like obviously on the bad end of things, Kansas State has been a total disaster. I didn't necessarily know that they were going to, I didn't know that they were going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12, but I certainly didn't expect them to be one of the worst. And they have been to this point, especially, I mean, frankly, they could be 0-4 right now, which is just crazy to think about. I think that Iowa State on the other side of that week 0 game has been really impressive to this point. A little bit of trouble with Arkansas State last week in a tough focus spot, but they go and beat Iowa in a game that I think they were more dominant than the final score. They beat Kansas State in a game where I think they were more dominant than the final score. Rocco Beck to this point has looked like one of the nation's best quarterbacks. I think that if you were doing a power ranking right now of the Big 12 with their resume, I think that you look at Iowa State as being potentially number 1 on that list. And I think it's not necessarily a huge surprise, but like what I've seen from Utah and their new offense so far has been really impressive to this point. Obviously, the last 2 years, they've been a bottom 5 offense in the power conferences, period, with Cam Rising obviously dealing with some injuries. Well, we'll have to wait and see how they play against good competition. But man, Devin Dampier and that offense have come in and really lit things up to this point. You mentioned, of course, Utah versus Texas Tech this weekend on Big Noon Kickoff. I think that is going to be one of the games of the year in the conference. And the winner of that game, I think, maybe takes over that spot of favorite in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think when we do our weekly power rankings, I think we got Iowa State 1, Utah 2, and then Texas Tech 3. Just there was so much hype for what those Red Raiders did in the offseason, really rebuilding that defense, investing a lot of money in the transfer portal, in NIL. Just has the start to the season been kind of what you expected from Texas Tech to this point?
Yeah, 100%. But, I'll say at the same time, like they haven't played anybody to this point. But this is what you're supposed to do against nobodies, right? You're supposed to put them into the ground at the end of the first quarter. And they've been leading every game after one quarter, like 28-0. I think that Baron Morton has looked really comfortable in this new offense under Mac Leftwich, their new offensive coordinator. And the defense has just shut teams down to this point. And, just referring back to that Tech versus Utah game, that matchup of the Tech pass rush versus Utah's offensive line is going to be one of the best matches that we see in the Big 12 period this year. So they've done everything that they've needed to do to this point. They've been tremendously dominant. And, people ask me all offseason, like, what exactly is the expectation for this team? And my thing was, because last year, 6 of their 8 wins came by 1 score. And their goal this year, more than anything else, was we don't want to be in 6 one-score games against this year. We want to be able to really focus in on the big games that matter. And if we can handle those and put all the others to the side, that's going to give us a chance to be there in December.
Listen, you clearly know your stuff. If anybody didn't know before this, they know now. But I want to maybe take you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Can I get a hot take? Do you got something that you're maybe like, ooh, I don't know if everybody's going to agree with what I'm saying here?
Well, okay, I do have one bold prediction that I dropped before the year in our SEC preview, actually. And it was that I thought that in this year where people were projecting all these quarterbacks to be great in the SEC, we were actually going to have a really disappointing SEC quarterback year. And to this point, I think that's been the case. Obviously, Arch has been really brutal. Garrett Nussmeier's a player I'm still really high on, but, he hasn't been necessarily the most consistent. DJ Lagway, like you're talking about a guy who, obviously was a big time playmaker, but wasn't necessarily a consistent quarterback during his year. And I actually think that I've nailed it straight on the head. I actually named Talon Green at Arkansas as a potential all conference quarterback, as somebody who maybe would not get in the mix. But, I think that moving over to the Big 12, it's just wide open right now, right? Like that's the biggest thing that you have to say about it. You could tell me in a month that we're looking at, Kansas and TCU being the two best teams in the league, and I wouldn't be that surprised by it. I think that there have been 8 to 9 teams to this point that have really looked the part, and I think it's going to make for a crazy ending to the season.
Oh, man, I love it. It's going to be a fun rest of the season here in the Big 12. CBS Sports' very own Shehan Jeyarajah. Shehan, we appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always good to catch up with Shehan. Throw him a follow on social. Does some phenomenal stuff for CBS Sports. We'll see if Arizona State can get a massive conference win over Baylor on Saturday. But we can quickly go through the rest of the Big 12 slate. I want to get all of your guys' thoughts as well on these Big 12 games. So really throw in your predictions here. You don't got to necessarily throw in a score prediction, but let me know who you think is going to come out on top. Conference play, pretty much the majority of the slate here in the conference outside of a couple games, including Mike Gundy in the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They kick off actually at 4:30 tonight against Tulsa. Who do we got in this one? The Cowboys.
I mean, they better win.
They gotta win, right? They need this win. This is a game that if you're Gundy, you cannot afford to lose, especially given the way that last season went. This is already going to be a must-win contest for Oklahoma State. Tough position to be in, considering they got throttled by Oregon. So now they're sitting at that 1-1 mark. Can't go into conference play at 1-2, especially considering they didn't win a conference game last year. I do think Oklahoma State gets it done again at home in this one at Boone Pickens Stadium. And then the game of the week on Saturday, 9 a.m., Texas Tech and Utah. A battle of number 16 and number 17 in the nation.
Dude, that's so nasty that they're making them play that early.
It is. But are we going with Morton or are we going with Dan Pierre on this one?
Man, I mean, this game's in Utah. Like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm going Utah.
Massive statement.
They're gonna be so loud. Devin Dan Pierre, it doesn't seem like he's gonna fold in big moments, but we also don't really know. This is definitely the best team he's probably played.
Definitely the best team he's played.
I'm trying to think if New Mexico had a weird matchup last year.
They played Arizona last year.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think if they played anyone else. Regardless, like, this is going to be a fun one, man. Yeah, I got Utah, and I actually have Utah by a couple scores in this game.
Really? You think they get out on top?
Yeah,
here?
I think the power of friendship shows that it's not very strong in Lubbock.
We'll see what Baron Morton can do, man. 923 yards through the air and 11 touchdowns to 1 INT through the first 3 games of the season. So I think he'll need to have a big one. Should be a good game. I am going to go with Baron Morton and Texas Tech here in this one. I just think, again, having a returning quarterback in Baron Morton is going to make a massive difference. I like Utah. I think this is going to be a close one regardless. Another non-con game for a team that did have an early bye. You've got TCU at home taking on SMU. SMU no longer in the top 25. TCU knocking on the door with a couple votes. Who do we think comes out on top in this one, Deli Man?
I think TCU rolls in this one. I think that offense is going to put up 50.
Oof.
And SMU won't be able to keep up. SMU is looking more and more fraudulent by the day.
Yeah, that's 100% fair. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think both these offenses, are really, really high-powered. I am going to give the edge here to SMU. I like TCU as much as anybody, but I think SMU gets the job done late in this one to push TCU to 2-1 on the year. Another non-con matchup. You've got Bill Belichick in North Carolina taking on UCF.
Tell me what the spread is in this game.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's it's at UCF.
Yeah.
Give me UCF in a pick'em. I
don't
know.
That's what I would think. UCF's favored by 7 points.
By a touchdown?
Yeah, the books do not like Bill Belichick in North Carolina.
Do you like Bill Belichick in North Carolina here? Or do you like do you like Frosty?
Dude, I don't know, man. I kind of want to take UNC like on the money line in this game.
I wouldn't blame you
That's
at all.
Gross. You also hate UCF.
I do hate. I think they're a horrible team. Give me UNC here. I can't, in good conscience, take UCF in this one. I think Bill gets it done here. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Also, we are hitting overtime. If you are watching on TV, the party always continues at gophnx.com. Getting back to another conference matchup here in the Big 12. West Virginia taking on Jalen Daniels and the Kansas Jayhawks, the battle of two 2-1 teams in the middle of the day on FS1. Does Jalen Daniels have enough to get the job done? Shane, I think he does. I think Kansas walks away with a win here.
Yeah, I think Kansas rolls. No, I don't think they cover. The spread's 13 points. I like Kansas to win by 10.
I'm here for
this one.
I think Kansas is a team that's been slightly disrespected to this point in the year because they haven't necessarily played a ton of great competition. And again, they are 2-1 on the year, but I think Jalen Daniels gets it right in this one. A couple more matchups before we get out of here. And the last two are both non-con matchups. BYU taking on East Carolina. This is a game
East Carolina
on the road for the Cougs. We've had a lot of folks in our Big 12 reaction videos at the end of the week telling us that we're sleeping on BYU. I mean, this is an opportunity then to take care of business. LJ Martin and company need to go big, but Shane, this spread I want to say is smaller than the spread that they had for UNC and UCF.
It is the same.
It's the same?
It's about 6.5. BYU's favored by 6.5.
You'd think that it would be a bigger spread. Like, I get it's on the road, but it's BYU.
Yeah, it's on the road. I mean, has Bear Bachmeier really done anything like out of structure? No. Like, we'll see. This is probably the first real, like, okay, here's BYU. BYU's played the School of the Deaf and Blind and Bishop Sycamore. Like who they played? No one, right?
No, they haven't played anybody.
They've allowed 7 rush yards total. Like, that's not
They played Portland State and Stanford.
Yeah.
And they've won by a combined score of, quick math here, 96-0?
No,
or 96-3?
Yeah.
Right? 69 plus 27 is 96, yeah?
Yep.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, quick math there on that one.
Yeah, this is a first real test. Man, does Stanford stink that bad?
I think so.
Okay.
I think Stanford's pretty bad at football.
Sorry for calling the School of Deaf and Blind, Stanford. You don't deserve that.
No, you really don't. Wyoming taking on Colorado at Folsom Field here. Colorado at a point where they kind of need a win, 1-2 now to start the year. Can't drop this one to Wyoming and fall to 1-3. Did they finally figure out who is quarterback 1 in this one, Shane?
They're going back to Liberty. Slater's going to get the start. So
Slater?
Yeah, we'll see if
it's an evening game. We know Dion doesn't do well in evening games.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll see if the Cowboys can rally. That'd be fun. I think the spread's like 13. So, I don't know. Colorado's got a lot of individual talent on this team. Just got to put it all together.
100%.
A loss here would blow up the season and make players transfer.
Yeah, I think that's 100% fair. I'm going to go with Colorado in this one. I think they win handedly in a must-win environment. Guys, that is going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devil Show. Man, an hour and change flew by. Thank you to everybody in the chat that stopped by. Of course, thank you for all of you that joined the Supporters Club, that are still in the Supporters Club. We really, really do appreciate you. And of course, if you're listening on audio, don't stop running. We appreciate you as well. We will see you guys for a pregame, postgame, and a watch-along for that Arizona State Baylor matchup right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. So hit that like button and hit the subscribe button on your way out. And if you're listening on audio, make sure you drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. That is going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed the content today, give the show a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils on social. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow the Deli Man at Shane Dief.
Just wanting to get a dub and get back to the Sun Devils we know, as always.
And we will see you for one hell of a game day on Saturday. But in the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.